everyone, and welcome to this episode of Down the Garden Path. I want to talk to you today about 5 practical tips for starting a landscape project. Yes, there's 5 practical tips and lots of little tips in between, but I just wanted to discuss if you're thinking about a project, if you're new to landscaping, if you're new to owning a home, or you've bought a house and it needs some work and you're wanting to figure out the best way to start that process, I wanted to walk you through it. Now, keep in mind, I'm a landscape designer, so I've seen the projects kind of from the start to the beginning. I've been homes where they've called me in after the fact and asked me, to fix things or wish that things had been differently. So I've really been around in the last 20 years, and I just wanted to share some of my best and kind of practical ideas and suggestions with you. So hope you hang in there and have a listen. The first one is actually very practical, and it's to go for a walk in your neighborhood or drive to another neighborhood and walk around there and see what you like, what you don't like. Look at, if you walk close enough on the sidewalk, sometimes you can see the colors. So look at homes that might have the similar brick to your home, and look at what color paving materials they've used. To give you an idea of what you think goes or doesn't go with your home. Look at the driveways. And consider your own driveway. Do you want to widen that driveway? Nowadays, our cars are much bigger than they used to be. So, especially if it's an older home, you may need to add a bit of interlocking on either side of the driveway to make it much easier to get in and out, especially in the winter. In the winter, do you get out and you've got to or the passenger get out and have to wrangle the snowbank, that type of thing. So we can cut into the lawn on both sides of the driveway to widen your driveway if you need to. Look at the front steps. Do you have a concrete step, and do you want material placed on top of them to improve the look? Do you need have interlocking steps, but you'd like something more solid? And there's available to you as either man-made steps that can be 4, 6, 8 feet. No, usually that's 8 feet for man-made products, usually 4 or 6 feet wide, or natural stone products, which are, yes, more expensive, but they're not going to move and they're not going to shift. They're going to be there. So you can get a look at things that you may or may not like. Other aesthetics, things like rocks, and I mean boulders. I don't mean river rock, although lots of people have river rock too. But you like, something more traditional and more informal with large rocks, or are you looking to change things up and have it more modern and clean lines? So I think it's good to go when you Google or search on the internet, or even, it's much more practical, I think, and easier for you to visualize if you are in a neighborhood where homes are like yours or similar to yours, and it gives you a better idea of what you like and what you don't like. Another big thing is looking at things like access for the yard. The other thing is plants. I know it might be someone's secondary focus when you're considering a landscape project. You want the surfaces done and established and done, updated and done properly. But maybe you want to change the landscaping. Maybe if you have a new home and you have no landscaping, look at what you like and what you don't like and what you're seeing. If you have a mature landscape already and you realize that it's overgrown, things aren't really looking great anymore, and you need to freshen it up, then sometimes you need to take things out and put in new things, younger things that are a little bit smaller in size. And often that means lower maintenance as well. people want to always, that's something that they ask, is something that is lower maintenance. Do you still want grass? Do you want lots of grass? Do you want less grass? It can be a fine line with gardens. You know, some people want less gardens, more grass, and sometimes people want more gardens and less grass. So that's an option. And another thing that has been popular in the front to eliminate grass has been sitting areas, especially if you have young children and now they're riding their bikes on the sidewalk, they're playing in the driveway. You may want an area in the front yard to sit and to watch them and be part of that. Or teenagers, and you want to hang out and want a place for them to hang out, and whether they hang out in your backyard or your front yard. So, I mean, when you're looking at neighborhoods, it is really for the front yards. But I think the color of materials, if you are considering doing your backyard, that can still help you by looking at materials that you like and you don't like, color combinations that you like and you don't like, brick size, paver size, really some material choices just to give yourself an idea of what you do and don't like. Because like I said, when you do look online for ideas or on social media for ideas, it can be helpful, but it can also be more confusing because those materials might not be available in your area. Um, so it's good to see what's happening in homes just like yours. So now what you do when you've started to get a good idea of what you like and don't like, now to me, I really feel strongly that is the first step. The second step is then to ask for referrals. If you have a neighbor and you're really happy with, and they're really happy with what the work that was done, or you're really impressed by the work that was done, then ask for referrals. If you have family members or friends who've done a project in the last few years and they were happy with the work and you can go see the work, then ask for referrals. I really think that it is, you'll know it when you see it, that you're happy with how the work was done, and then you can go from there with a landscaping company. But just calling one off out of the blue, I mean, you can try that for sure, but I think it also always helps to start with a little bit more information, asking for friends and family. And then when you get those names, you can, before calling them even, you can start following them on social media. You can check out their websites. It's really important. This day and age, they should have a website and they should have before and after pictures or pictures of jobs that they've done that really help you to see their skill level and their aesthetic. On social media, you can also see the work that they've done. And sometimes you can even get a glance at how they work, their workmanship and their work ethic. As sometimes there's videos or pictures of what's happening on the job site. So I think at this day and age, it's a good place to start for your research as you prepare to undergo the project. The project's not cheap, and I think it really is important to do everything in the right order of things, and that's what I'm hoping this episode helps you with. So you've done those first two steps. Then you've narrowed it down to a couple of landscape companies. Now it's time to call the landscape company. And once again, I am a landscape designer, and I really think it's important that you ask them about a design service. Do not fall for, oh, we can do whatever you want. We can do anything you want. A lot of people, might think that that's a good thing, that they can do anything. But do you really know what you want? You might know the look you want or certain features like additional steps, widening the driveway, like I mentioned, but you don't know what you should want and you don't know what you don't know. So I really feel strongly that they should be able to offer you some type of design service, some side of an outline, even if it's just a sketch. There are a ton, again, speaking as an independent landscape designer, there's a ton of us out there. So if they don't have a resource or they don't have an ability to do a design for you, then hopefully they have a relationship with one of us independent designers, or that they would encourage you to look for us, because we can really help you really meet and help them really picture what you want and make it practical, and avoid a lot of the mistakes that happen when you don't know better. I'm there, like I said at the top of the show, I can um, garden beds, or let's say raised garden beds. You may say, oh, I don't want a big garden. I only want it to be narrow. And so they go ahead and make you a narrow bed. But not much grows in a narrow bed. They don't explain that there's a lot of screening in that wall, in the stone that will end up in that bed. And smaller beds do not make lower maintenance gardens. You need a garden that's going to grow the plants that you want. And if the plant's going to be 5 feet wide without you having to trim it every year, then you need a bigger bed. So practical things like that. Again, you don't know what you don't know. So there are lots of independent landscape designers in your area. Many garden centers may offer a service like that as well. So you can go talk to them. Their focus may be more plants, but often the the designer will have experience in hardscaping as well. So, and if that's something you don't want to do, if you don't want to pay for a designer, or they don't have a service like that, then versus doing nothing, I would suggest draw it out yourself. Pick up some graph paper. 1 square is a foot. Measure your space. Draw out, a basic plan of what you'd like. Google what you may not know. Ask, how wide should a front walkway be? Hint, it's not 3 feet wide. It's really not even 4 feet wide. You'd like two people walking side by side to be able to walk to your front door, or you'd like to be able to carry or push something and have it be spacious walking to your front door. Or if it's a back patio and you have a 6-person patio table and you'd like some additional space for the barbecue, Google, how big should the patio be that will hold a table for 6 and a barbecue? That type of thing to get that sizing. So if you're laying it out on graph paper, you are creating a realistic plan for what you can use or that you will need once the job is complete. So once a plan or either you've done it, or a landscape designer has done it, or the landscape designer that works for the company has done a plan. Now you're ready to choose a landscaper and finalize your project. So if you are comparing quotes, and I do advise you, I know everybody should get a couple of quotes. But I don't advise you to go off the deep end and get, 5 or 6 quotes. You're just wasting a lot of people's time, and then it just makes it much more efficient if you get just a few quotes, and you should be able to tell from there who is the best fit for you. When you are talking to them, or when you are choosing and making that final decision, you can make informed decisions, like asking, how deep do you dig? That's important. We all have those issues, and we all see those issues with landscape projects, lifting, sagging, rippling, coming apart after years. They're not going to last forever, especially in our winter with our freeze-thaw cycles. So we want to make sure that that's being done properly to mitigate those factors. So how deep do they dig? What type of base do they use and do they put in? What type of edging do they use? A lot of these products have changed over the last few years. So if they're still doing older methods, like putting the stakes through the plastic, edging to edge between the stone and the lawn, there's better products now. There's concrete products that are better for stabilizing the patios, or there's metal edge restraints instead of using plastic. So that's something to ask the landscaper about. You can ask about other practical things like, when they're done, will they repair the sod and repair any damage that they've done? When they're digging out the gardens, are they just cutting everything off, or are they digging them out and putting and adding new soil or compost, that type of thing to the garden? Can they do it for low maintenance, people looking for low maintenance in their yard? Then often adding an edge, not just an edge restraint that you don't really see, but sometimes adding a curbing edge if a wall is not in your budget, and it is a more expensive thing, but adding a curb or a stone edging can really help elevate the project, but give you that cleaner look as well. And then some people would say that creates more work because now you have to do the edging with an edger. But you can do something called a mowing strip in front of that curb. And so that now you can mow right up to the curb and you don't have to worry about using your trimmer. See, there's a landscape designer tip for you. So there's more practical information that you can ask them. The other thing is when it comes to choosing materials, often they will include a material suggestion or material range in their quote. So asking them which landscape company product do they like to use? Do they like to use Unilock? Do they like to use Techo-Block? Do they like to use Permacon? Or do they have a favorite company that they like to use? Yeah, especially if it's not one of those that I've listed, that's fine. There's many products out there and they can help you with that. In certain situations, you can ask them feedback about man-made steps versus natural stone steps. Which product do they think is best for your situation? Regardless, considering your budget, but regardless of your budget too, because you don't want to replace it. You might be spending a bit more money this year or on the project versus having to replace it in a couple of years if you're not happy with it, or if the product hasn't held up to the type of use you have for it. So yeah, so that will help. It doesn't mean that that is for sure the product that you're going to use, but if it's something that it helps you narrow it down, it really does. So number 4, if I can find my sheet here. Okay. And once you have chosen, I guess that's number 5. Once you have chosen your landscaper and you've asked those deep dive questions about the products and about the landscape and what their vision is for you, getting practical timelines will also help. But now it becomes time to look at the exact material in person in order for you to choose it. So if you are going to a stone yard or a yard that has that material, and I really suggest that you do, bring a bottle of water, another tip. But I don't suggest you go alone. I really suggest that you go with a landscaper, or if you did hire a landscape designer, or if they have a landscape designer in the company, go with that person, because there's so many products and they're all used for so many different things when you go to those landscaping yards, that you're going to spend a lot of time and you're really not going to come out with a lot of answers. So I think it's best that you go with someone that can really lead you to the products that are going to work best for your situation. You don't need to look at bricks and pavers that are, much bigger or larger or thicker. If you're not doing a driveway, if you're just doing a back patio, then there's only a certain amount of the pavers that you need. If you're doing a front walkway, same thing. But if you are doing a driveway, or if you're doing that driveway extension, like I mentioned, going on either side, and you're going to park vehicles there, if you're going to create a parking pad for an additional, maybe you're going to use up some of your yard to actually really extend your driveway, then you're going to need a different material with that is thicker, that will hold the weight of the vehicle over time. So I think it's really important to go with someone that knows their way around and that can help you with choosing the right material for your job, and then getting into the right colors, and being able to look at your home and help you gauge what is the best material for your job, and coordinating that material. Sometimes there's a material on the porch. There's stones or steps. The step color, and then you might need a wall color or a curb, like I mentioned, in addition to the paving material that goes on the ground. Did you want a different color mixed in for like highlighting, or for what I like to call banding, or for more of a decorative feature? That all they're important decisions to make, and I think it's best to have some help making that decision. And I'm often, when I'm at these places, I'm often helping people that have been sent there by their landscapers, and they just are so lost and so frustrated, and I feel so bad for them. Even last night, I took time out with the client that I was with. I brought my client there, and these people were walking around with a piece of siding of their home, and they just were lost. And it is a lot. And they both were sitting there. Like, I walked around the corner, and they finally both sat down and just looked overwhelmed, and they didn't know what to do, and they didn't know how to proceed. So, landscapers, if you don't realize how challenging it is, it really is challenging. And I think that's an extra. I know it takes a bit more time, but I feel like the project will come along much better if they get a little bit of help from the beginning. So I think that is very important, especially when there's a lot of different aspects to a project. It can go a long way. The other thing to talk about, and even if it's not in your budget, things like irrigation and lighting, it can be something that you may not know and realize that can be added later in the project. I'm doing that myself. I had a landscape project done in my front yard last year, and lighting and irrigation wasn't in the budget. But I had them put something called conduit down under the bricks, under the walkway, so that when I was ready for doing lighting and irrigation, it was much easier to have done. You didn't have to, nobody had to dig up a walkway or anything like that. So that's something that you can, by thinking ahead and asking those questions ahead, then you can save yourself some time and energy by doing that, by having them lay that underneath the patio or underneath the walkway for you. So there's my 5 top tips before you get going on your project, is to get help and really consider, how important it is for a designer, not just laying out gardens per se, but helping laying out walkways and appropriate sizes for you and your family, considering small children, considering aging grandparents. Maybe you need more gentle landings versus, a lot of straight run steps, things like that. So again, I know I'm biased by being a landscape designer, but I've seen it all, and I really want these tips to help you help the landscaper and you have a successful project and a successful end result. So if you've any other tips you think I should have added, then please let me know. You can send me a message, or you can comment on this podcast on my website at downtoearth.ca. Thank you for listening. And I really hope this helps you learn some basic things on where to start and how to start a landscape project. Bye for now.